Hello and welcome to another episode of the Lume.
Plotters?
That's the
How
word I
long
was
can
missing.
I wait?
See,
How long can I wait before you have to fill it in yourself?
I was missing that word. I always forget, right? Our name.
It's a hard word to remember. Yeah, I understand. It's not like it's on our podcast name or anything, right?
Do you actually remember that there was did you ever seen plotters? I mean, like the like a printer?
Yes. So here's the thing is when we were setting up the name for Loom Plotters, if you do Google, we were Googling to see if anybody had this name, and a lot of these plotters would be the first Google hit, which then meant, of course, we're pretty much okay in the name. But yeah, the little printers, right?
I found when I was getting into computers many decades ago, like 100 years ago, these plotters were so amazing to look at, right? Because I think it was like the first robotic thing for me, because you could see an arm moving about a piece of paper that grabbed basically a pencil, more or less,
and
then drew things on the paper, and that was just amazing. I
remember there was a Lego one as well. You could buy a Lego set that was
later on you could do
pencil play. But the Lego robotics thing, I remember that was a big thing back in the day. But
yeah, it was much better than my first needle printer. My first needle printer was
the one that went zzz across the thing, and then
I had one with only
with the paper with the holes, the paper with the holes in the side. Yeah,
of course, yeah. And mine had only 7 needles, and with 7 needles, that means you didn't have underlines, right? It means the G, the J, all of these characters would just be pushed up. It looked very odd because I only had 7 needles, and it could do 30 characters per second. So in order to print an entire line of text, it just needed a bit of time. Sometimes it would go back and forth. Print a few characters, go back, print a few more. It was so slow. It was amazing. Yeah.
So, on that bombshell, it's time to end. No.
So how? Get a needle printer. It's nice, but you can still see them. As I like to hear that, and
I think they're very nice. And listening to them
in restaurants, right? You hear this a lot when they print the bill when they need copies.
Yeah.
Of these things where you sign copies and all of stuff, and it goes. Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, how are you otherwise? All good?
I'm good. Yes. No watch news. Haven't bought or sold anything. So it's been quiet on the Western Front.
Nice. Yeah.
Right? Unlike you, right? You've been
I haven't
getting your hands dirty.
Yeah.
Since last week.
Last week we have discussed the new Breitling, right, that I have. But I'm now waiting for tomorrow, because tomorrow all my watches will go to auction, right? I think I forgot to mention the Seiko 64 Mass or 63 Mass. I don't know which one this is. I always forget the right one. The SPB 149 blue dial. Anyhow, so that also went to the 62 Mass. Yeah, I think it might be a 62 Mass. I don't know. Anyhow, so that also went.
I have no idea.
55th anniversary, blah blah blah, and that is also going to the auction. So I have a lot of stuff there. I hope it goes well. Crossing fingers.
Well, unfortunately, the listeners here will not hear about this until well after.
Oh yeah.
But the live auction.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. But what are you wearing? What do you have on your wrist then?
Oh yeah. I'm wearing my Submariner, the No Date Sub 114060. Haven't worn it in a while, so I pulled it out for today just for that.
Nice.
I've been wearing I don't know. I ever since I mentioned this last week, I put that suede strap on the Grand Seiko.
You mean that hairy thing that you call the hairy
suede strap? Yes, I've been wearing that and the what's it called, the Explorer, and now we have booked a trip to go skiing in Azerbaijan.
All right,
and I was of course debating what watches I should take, and I think those are the two that I'm going to take. I'm going to take the Explorer one as my ski watch, and then my the hairy, quote unquote, hairy suede strap on the SBGM 221, the Grand Seiko, as the après ski watch.
Okay, I think you could potentially get away with just wearing the Explorer also for après ski, right?
Yeah, of course you could.
You
of
could,
course.
you
but the thing is, it's my only GMT, so I want to bring the GMT.
Okay. Yep.
Although, if I'm not mistaken, Azerbaijan is in the same time zone as us,
True,
so the
I think there
GMT
could
might
be
not
an-
be necessary.
Interesting.
So maybe in that case, I won't take the GMT.
Yeah.
All right, and you? What
I
do you got?
am wearing my Tissot Ice Blue PRX 80.
Nice.
Yeah, because I have...
Which is not the 35 mm. It's the
No,
big
that's
one,
the
the
40.
40.
Yeah.
39, 40.
Yeah, but on my wrist it's good. It's good.
No, of course. On your wrist, it looks fine. On me, I tried on the 35 and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I tried
think
the black one.
Both of them were a bit bigger. So it's actually really, really nice. The 35 is not too small for many wrists. It's
I
actually
think,
quite nice.
once again, I told you that the big issue for me was the ETA movement that they put in the 30, I mean, the same ETA movement either way, but the date window is all the way to the outside, which looks so clean. Meanwhile, yours has about a half a centimeter, a centimeter.
Oh, no, not that
left
much.
inset.
Not that much. Look from the dial, it's not that much.
That is a big amount. That is a big amount.
It's not. It's 3 millimeters, maybe 3.
And the other one, if I'm not mistaken,
No, I think if you look at other watches, it's pretty good. I mean, of course, you want it to as far to the side as possible, but this is not too bad.
But if I'm not mistaken, the Powermatic 80 Tissot 35 mm.
Yeah,
If
it
I'm
has
not
the same
mistaken, they did
movement.
away.
Yeah.
They did away with the index. You have an index.
Right.
They do not.
Oh,
So they're able to push it
exactly.
all the way out.
Yeah, true. Okay. Interesting.
So that's
yeah,
why-
they definitely it's definitely more on the side, which is always nicer. I don't disagree with that. It's always nicer if the date is more to the side, but yeah. Yeah, so because I have sold the other, or I'm going to sell the other 2 Tissots that I have, so that's my last and only Tissot, so I thought I'll wear it today.
Yep. Oh, it's a good one. The ice blue one is good. Now they came out with the mother of pearl, which is awesome looking. I think that one's only 35 mm, right?
Yeah,
I don't know if they did it in the big size too.
For now, who
but
knows?
mother of pearl.
Who knows? Yeah, that's the thing. I think is the PRX is such a nice watch, and it became such a big line for Tissot. I think they had the idea that this is going to be good, but they had no idea that it was going to be that good. But it's
This good,
it's amazing. And I think it's a lovely, lovely watch. Every time I pick it up, I think like, how is this even possible to have such a nice watch and so
At this price point.
Yeah, exactly. So well.
Yeah. And I think I
wearable.
remember when they first came out, like you couldn't find them anywhere. You'd go to the stores and they were all sold out, especially the blue one. You had zero chance. So it's very interesting how far
the ice
this line has come.
Ice blue is still hard to get. Well, not too hard. You can order it on RivoliShop.com, for example, and they say 2 to 3 weeks. And you get it then.
Well, I'm curious about this mother of pearl because it's a textured, same tapisserie dial with the mother of pearl, which
Really?
is super cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the one I just showed you was the mother of pearl one.
All right. Okay.
It looks a little white, but I guess under certain lighting, you'll see
Yeah, photos are always tough, especially for mother of pearl. You get the 3-dimensional effect. only when
huge
you
differences
see it.
in color with mother of pearl. And then not to mention, just between 2 watches, you could have big difference as well.
True.
So my wife has the Omega Constellation, a very small 24 mm one with the diamond dial mother of pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were buying that watch, we went and we looked at, I don't know, at least 10 different ones because Omega apparently had that much variation in the mother of pearl. They were totally different colors.
Interesting.
The patterns on some of them, the patterns look too manufactured, I could say, right? It looked like almost a circle or a helix. My wife wanted something that looked a little bit more organic, more natural. So, more along the lines of like marble as opposed to like a nice concentric circle.
Yeah, well, it's a natural product. It's a what is it? It's a
clam or whatever.
Yeah,
Oyster.
clamshell, exactly. Yeah.
Oyster, clamshell.
I don't know.
It's the mother of the pearl. It's a very good name for it.
True.
So and then some are pinkish, some are whitish, some are bluish. So it's a lot of variation.
Mm-hmm.
But cool. I'm a huge fan of mother of pearl. I don't think I could pull off a mother of pearl watch, but given the option,
Yeah.
then again, I take that back. If you were to say, here's a Rolex day date with a mother of pearl dial, I would say yes. I'll wear the hell out of it.
I think some
that would look
mother
cool.
of pearl can look really, really nice. I mean, if it comes to dials, I'm always a sucker for interesting material there, right? So when I saw in the last auction, for example, at Timepiece 360, I saw this Burlwood dial, and I have seen it in person. I went there to look at it, and it's just amazing.
For which watch?
Datejust 36, but with a Burlwood dial Rolex.
Really?
Yeah. And it's lovely. I mean, that's from 1999 or something. So it's 24 years old or so.
And that's the thing, is that's relatively recent for them to still be making this weird stuff, right? Back in the 80s and the 70s, they did tons of weird stuff.
Yeah, and
99 is fairly recent.
And I think I don't know I don't think they do still wood dials, but they
no.
But they have
they only do stone.
They do stone. They have certain other things like Meteor and other stuff that they're using now. So it's interesting. It's interesting to see that some of these dials that are also not necessarily catalog pieces, right? They just happen to fall out of the Rolex factory every now and then somebody gets them. I have no idea how that works. But it's cool that actually a company like Rolex still does, well, they churn out so much stuff that there's still certain, like little pearls, basically, little nuggets falling out that are some different things that are not in the catalog, that are just happening to be somehow being sent to some ADs, and then some people actually get them.
I told you about the one that I saw in Elaine with the gradient blue. What's the blue stone? I forget
lapis
the name.
lazuli.
Lapis. Yes, it's gradient blue lapis.
Nice.
And so it goes black on the outside, and it goes like a rich royal blue with a diamond dial. With diamond baguette dial.
I'm such a sucker for
white gold
blue dials. I still can't get enough of them.
It's so good. Yeah, I mean, it is very cool. So, anyway, all right. There's something you wanted to mention.
Yeah, what else is happening?
Wanted to talk about.
It's a controversy. Only Watch is a bit in hot water at the moment. So the Only Watch charity. So for the listeners, I think we talked about it before. Just a very short summary, just a few seconds. So Only Watch is a charity that gets watches, unique watches given by watch manufacturers, and then it's being auctioned off by big auction houses, with all proceeds of these auctions going to the Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is research, which is the founder of this charity has lost his son to that disease, which affects 1 in 3,500 kids. So it's not too scarce, but it's also not too common that everybody is just jumping on it and trying to find a cure for it. So he said, okay, I'll start this charity and finance the research for this. So he did, and it's very, very successful. He has now collected over $100 million, or Swiss francs, I think even, which is, in any case, nearly the same. So 100 million Swiss francs for this to distribute to different research projects or parents in need or whatever. So a couple of questions came up recently about where did the money actually go? Because it's not that public. There's a couple of this onlywatch.org, I think, website, not the normal one, but the one that actually talks about the charity itself only. And that has a couple of people, a couple of companies, and a couple of projects that they are funding. But they do not actually disclose exactly when, how much, who received what. So faced with these questions that were asked by the online community, so a very prolific collector, Santa Clara on Instagram, then Periscope, and a couple of others, even Revolution Watch, I've put this on our website, an article about it. So everybody is saying like, well, there's a couple of things that need to be discussed, that need to be shown. So the Only Watch founder came out and said, okay, listen, I have filed all of the requirements by law in Monaco, where he is a Monegasque, so he's from Monaco. And he said, my company, my charity is here, and I have filed everything with the government as it is requested. So now, during this time, the controversy came. Even Monaco has changed their rules. So now even Monaco says, oh, you need to have audited reports. So he's doing that as well now. He has ordered KPMG to audit his books. But again, we will not know, I think, the outcome of this audit before necessarily the auction goes live. Some people say that some companies are a bit, they haven't done, obviously, this kind of questions to this charity before. And they're now a bit skeptical, right? They're saying, oh, well, certain things sound a bit dodgy. Because, for example, some of the research biotech companies that receive a lot of these funds, a few millions of these funds, are also majority owned by the owner of the charity and his daughter, which is then, of course, raises some people's alarm bells.
Conflict of interest a little bit, right? Yeah.
Well, it might be okay. There's no reason why not to do that. I mean, if he's interested in actually researching it, why not found companies and collect money from this? If it's done in a proper way, in a transparent way, if the board of the people is all on board of it, and who is on the board and who decides what, and all of these questions have been asked, answers are dripping out. They seem to be okay, but one lot has disappeared from the auction, lot number 6, which is Audemars Piguet. And that was already, I thought, maybe they're not getting ready in time. Maybe it's a coincidence. But this watch was already on videos, right? And it's already filmed, basically. So that watch is there. So I guess they are probably a bit careful and saying like, okay, unless this is not fully transparent, we might not do this. F. Bijon came forward, though, and said, I trust Luc is my friend. He's the founder of Only Watch. He's a good guy. Everything is above board, and we should all be focused on helping children in need rather than discussing little technicalities or so, right? Because he said,
yep,
I trust this person, which is fine, but it's obviously not a fact. It's just saying, like, I trust the guy. Anyhow, we will see what comes out of it. I just hope for the entire watch world, I mean, a lot of people saying are very excited about it and calling it already a scam, calling it a, money grab. Maybe it's not being helped that the founder of this Only Watch auction is also the head of the Monaco Yacht Club, president of the Monaco Yacht Club, and is sometimes seen, partying on yachts and smoking cigars that are very expensive and all of these things. And people thinking like, oh, this guy is just doing this auction and just, smoking away the money. This fancy cigars and
who
partying.
knows? I mean, ultimately,
maybe he's rich by himself. Who knows? Right?
This is exactly what I was going to say. I think in order to even start this kind of a charity, you would have had to be a person of a significant wealth, right? Because how are you going to convince all of these watch companies to make you one-off pieces for auction, right? I could say tomorrow I'm going to start my own auction, and I can go up to Audemars Piguet and say, please make me a one-of-a-kind watch. I will auction it off, and they're going to tell me to go shove it.
Yeah.
So
anyhow, so there's a lot of other things. So there was also a story about a family with 3 kids that had this disease, that specific disease, and they asked for some help to build some ramps in the house, and basically they said no, or we can't help you, the charity, and that rubbed some people the wrong way. But on the other hand, and all of these 3 kids have eventually died now, so which is very tragic. And it's always bad if a charity can't help specific people or turn down specific requests. But that can have so many reasons, right? We don't know the details behind it. Have all requirements been fulfilled? Is there anyhow? We don't know all of this, right? So I would just, for my personal feeling is, well, there's a lot of people jumping to a conclusion, calling it a scam and saying already like, oh, this is all rubbish and this is this is all a scam, like the entire Switch watch industry, everything is, smoke and mirrors. I don't think so. I mean, I really, let's say the other way, I really hope it's all fine and it will all be clarified and everything is good. So 50% of the funds have been spent already, which is great. But of course, it's also good to know that 50% of the funds are not yet spent. So it's not just all went away immediately after money was made. It's being decided of who gets the money and at which time when it makes sense, right, for the research. So you cannot just shower people with money. But anyhow, I hope for the watch world that this is not bad, that this is being clarified and everything will be hunky-dory, because imagine the bad reputation for not only the Only Watch itself, but for charities in general, and for the watch world that is in all the brands that are being supportive of that. It would be so bad. This is such a nice story, and I really would hate to see it go bad. I really hope it stays nice. So let's see.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Yeah. I mean, chances are by the time you hear this, you might already know what happened.
Yeah, maybe not.
So
yeah,
we'll see. Because Only Watch is scheduled for what, November, right?
I think so. Yeah, but the thing is, it's November. But I think the thing is with most charities, and if you look at all of the publications that they do, the audited reports and where they spend their money and how, I think Only Watch also came forward and said already that they only have 1% of admin charge, which is extremely low. It is really, really low. I mean, you have really good organizations, charitable organizations, and they just do, if they do under 10% of admin charges of your donations, that's amazing already, right? Generally, that's considered, wow, that's a very little amount of admin charges. For every dollar you give, 90 go actually somewhere and do something. 90 cents. So yeah, let's see. I really hope it's all true. I really hope it's clarifies, but we have to keep an open mind and see what happens.
Yep, exactly. So
talking about people
now
who
that
actually...
bumming information aside, right? A little bit of a bummer.
Drama.
But now we're going to talk about something fun today.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to discuss what we think are the most influential watches of all time.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through, we'll talk, it's not going to be in any specific order. We'll throw some watches out there. These are generally watches that have influenced the future of watch design, I guess we could say, right? The way things have gone after it subsequently. So that's kind of what we're interested in. And there's, of course, a few big ones that immediately pop to mind anytime you say, what is an influential watch? So, Ralph, what is the most influential watch in your mind?
Yeah.
And I mean, we can categorize these as well, right?
Let's have a discussion about this. Because what is influential right now? Influential for today's world, or influential in terms of general watchmaking itself?
No, I would say general watchmaking, influential in terms of general watchmaking. My mentality is I'm not looking at this from a technical perspective. I'm looking at this from an aesthetic perspective. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example of what I think. Prior to the Datejust, the original Datejust that came out in 1930, whenever, 32, 31, I don't recall. The big deal with the Datejust was that it used a date disc. Right? Before it, you had pointer dates that would point to what date it was. So Datejust was essentially the first watch to have a self-changing date disc or date window.
Okay.
And that there was then picked up by every single watch company ever. And to this date, we still have the self-changing date window. So that to me is something that is influential, and that is something that is still in use today.
So all of the old pocket watches and table watches and all of these things that were made for royalty back then from Breguet and all of these guys didn't have a date window, basically.
No, it had a date function, but not a window.
All right. Interesting. Well, that's very interesting.
So claim Rolex, by the way. Rolex claims, I have to say this, they claim that they are the first watch company to have a self-changing date window.
All right.
So,
okay.
I don't know if that, I'm sure there's some obscure something, or there could be, because Rolex likes to make these bold claims, but they're still claiming this to this date.
They had a few claims that they had to publicly retract back in the time, and even
first
apologized.
The Oyster
right?
Perpetual being the first waterproof or water resistant wristwatch.
Yeah.
That one kind of is true because the Oyster case was in fact water resistant. The big difference was they had tons of pocket watches that were already waterproof, right? So,
there was also, I think, other wristwatches that are actually water resistant. But I think the Oyster case is a great achievement, especially for the time because of the construction of how it was made. No questions about it. But I think, then it was Mount Everest, right, where they actually didn't go to the summit. It was part of the mission, but the watch that was worn on the summit was apparently then was not a Rolex, but they used to claim that in their marketing material. And now they say...
No, but the whole thing was it wasn't even an Explorer. They didn't have an Explorer at the time.
No, that's true.
It was an Oyster Perpetual.
It was a Rolex watch.
Yes, but it was not an Explorer, as they love to claim.
Yeah. Anyhow, so there's a couple of marketing claims that they had to retract over time, so they're no stranger to making bold claims that might or might not
aren't
be
true.
So they're entire truth. But let's see.
So that's one thing. Okay, so in the same vein, we could say, one that is true is Blancpain and the 50 fathoms having the rotating bezel. First watch with a rotating dive bezel, and that is still used today on almost every single watch.
Right. Yeah, I think the other things we can say is, I think but at that time, I think in the early 50s, right, there's so many of these dive watches came out, right? It's probably hard to say who was really the first.
Yeah, but they said, okay, yes, you're right, because it was all within a year.
The Zodiac.
So
all of
50 Fathoms came out in 53.
Yeah.
The Submariner came out in 53. The Tudor Submariner came out in 53, which is, of course, is essentially the same watch.
Yeah.
Right. So
case,
these three alone, or these two, it's going to be difficult to say who was first, who started designing. All we know is Blancpain had the patent for it. And therefore, Rolex couldn't put a clicky bezel on the Submariners for a solid, I don't know how many years, 20 years.
Oh, really?
Because Blancpain had the unidirectional bezel patent. So they had to do a friction bezel that was bidirectional.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a controversy about that as well, right? Periscope had a big article about this, about who was really first, and it was a lot of back and forth with this, with Blancpain themselves and other people that got involved. It seems to be not that great idea. There was two time witnesses, the guy who actually used that watch from the French Navy, and the then co-CEO of Blancpain, Fichter, and these two have died in the last few years. So these were the ones who actually claimed, no, it was 53, and that was the time. And Blancpain doesn't seem to have too many documentation about this, right? Printed documentation, they have a bit, but some people are not 100% convinced.
Now, the reason I think that this is legitimate is because Rolex has not made any claims about
I think so too.
Otherwise.
I think as well, Rolex would be up in arms and would say like, see, we are the first, but they don't. And so that seems to me
which means
that
somebody else was.
Yeah, that seems to me.
They agree.
I mean, then people will argue Rolex doesn't care because they have won in any case. I know the Rolex is so much more popular and so much more successful than the 50 Fathoms. And I said like, well, no, I think Rolex would use that in their marketing if they could.
Yeah.
But anyhow, of course, I mean, the Submariner is vastly more successful than the 50 Fathoms.
It's a much better looking watch as well.
Yeah. I do think if they would make the 50 Fathoms, the 41, 42 millimeter versions that they bring out as super limited editions, only 100 pieces, 300 pieces. They
have the 38.5 that they don't make with a no date.
They have these limited editions that everybody wants, and they just don't do this in a permanent collection, only as limited editions. And I find this so frustrating because
and I think I would buy one. 100% this would be on my list. If you saw the half bronze, half gold one that came out.
Yeah, the bronze gold. My God,
if that
so beautiful.
came out in stainless steel. in that
Yeah.
size,
Yeah.
I would be all over it.
Yeah. No, really.
I think everybody would be.
Yeah. I mean, I have my 50 Fathoms Bathy scarf, which I love, and it's so blue, and the dial is, I think, one of the prettiest sunray dials, lacquered dials that is just short of maybe the overseas from Vacheron Constantin. But it's
I'm
really
a big fan.
so
I
nice.
like the Bathy
It's so
scarf.
nice, yeah.
If it wasn't, once again, for that stupid date window, I don't know why. I mean, I don't think that a diver needs a date.
Yeah, but I think this is
Right?
the point why they put it between 4 and 5 and with a matching dial color. The date disc is also in dial color. So it does
Yeah, of
actually
course.
totally blend in the
Blends
background.
in, but it's in
It's
my
there
mind.
when
I just
you
don't
need
like
it, and it's not there when you don't need it. I think it's nice. Anyhow, it's a different story. But yeah, influential watches. So I would say the Cartier Santos is a very influential watch because it's like the one of the first commercially available watches for men.
So, yes, I absolutely agree. I would throw in the Cartier Tank, the old Tank Louis or whatever you want to call it now. Because I think a lot of people, if you ask them, what is, and this is a big debate, by the way, what is the most iconic, what is the most influential Cartier of all time? I would say 9 out of 10 people would say it's the Tank over the
Probably it's a more
Santos.
more known watch. Another one I would say is probably all of these Flieger pilot watches that have been used in the various wars.
The Dirty Dozen
and the Dirty Dozen, the field watches, because I think all of these have basically started men to actually wear watches on their wrist, right?
Because it was cool. Because if the army is doing it, then I'll do it too. If the
I
the
don't know
fighter
if it
pilots are doing it,
it was cool at
I'll
the
do it too.
time. I think it was considered very female because only women would do that before.
You cannot tell me like a 45 millimeter big pilot back in 1950 would be not cool.
I
Right?
don't know
This
if
is what I'm
people
saying is these
found that
massively oversized watches. They would have been so brutish, so out there that I think it would have been masculine.
Most of these pilots, again, in these planes, they didn't have any, heating or cooling in them. So that means they would wear them above their big bomber jackets, basically, right?
Yeah. What they also wanted to be able to glance at it and clearly be able to tell the time without having to get their, magnifying glass out. So that's the big reason they were so big.
Yeah. And the next thing I think was which also came out of a necessity, basically, the flyback chronograph, right? When you actually just hit a waypoint and you need to just click it again because you need to find
start the
30 seconds this direction and then 45 seconds this direction, and you have to just.
Well, if we think about this, I mean, you lose how many seconds stopping and restarting a chronograph? Probably 1 or 2.
I don't necessarily think that's only that. The seconds that you lose, but also that you have to make 3 button presses with your gloves on while you are actually flying a plane. So that there's the chance you miss one, and then you have not just the 1 second or so that or half a second that it takes you, but then you have a couple of seconds where you're off because you have to then figure out, oh shit, what did I do? And, go back to it. So it might be actually the reduction of misuse or mistakes that happen because instead of 3 presses, you only do 1. But also,
and imagine if you miss one of those presses, right? If you mess it up.
Yeah, exactly.
So user error could be an issue.
Yeah, and then you, drop your load at the wrong place, which is not good, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what else? Let's see. I would hazard a guess in the same vein, I'm going to have to throw it out there, but in the same vein as the Cartier Tank and the Santos, we cannot mention those two without mentioning what is it going to be?
The Tank?
Any guesses?
What? Sorry, from Cartier?
In the same vein as the Santos and the Tank, what do you bring up? What is almost synonymous with the Cartier Tank? Any guesses?
Yeah. It's synonymous with the Cartier Tank.
Yeah, so if you always talk about the two in one breath, the Tank and the
The Crash, the Pasha,
Reverso.
the was
No, the Reverso.
also from a different brand. I was thinking about Cartier.
No, not from Cartier themselves. No. I meant in the same style, right? In the same because
Yeah,
what
but has the Reverso been so influential?
I think that there has been some influence in there. Otherwise,
but
Cartier wouldn't have made the Basculante.
Yeah, but I think it's not that people have switchable watches really that much, right? If that's the trick of the watch, I mean, it depends. I mean, from a design perspective, having a square watch, right? You could argue, it's still an iconic design. 100%, but it
is iconic, but you're right. Is it influential?
Because did everybody start making the same watch? Nah, not so much.
No, but everybody did start making tanks. And that's what I was thinking is not a lot of people made Santos style watches, but they did make tank knockoffs, right? So even today, if you look at Longines, they have the Dolce Vita. If you look at Oris, they have the whatever Oris.
Yeah, Longines has just launched a new one, right? Is it also Dolce Vita? I don't know.
Which one?
Who?
Longines? They've had the Dolce Vita for ages.
I don't know if it is a Dolce Vita or if it's a new model, but they launched a new square ladies watch, which is very nice looking. So,
would you like to know the very fancy name of the Oris watch that looks like the Cartier tank?
Berchi?
It's a very, very complicated name. The Oris Rectangular.
Ooh, that's
a good name right there.
I think it has a bit of a descriptive tone to it.
Rectangular. Come on, Oris.
It's like square watch. This is our
I mean, if you look at it, they are from the German side.
Yeah.
They are from the German side of Switzerland, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they call their divers watch the divers. So it's...
Yeah. No, why? You know, we named we named the watch aptly according to its function. Time telling.
Which is exactly what it is.
Thing. Yeah, I think, should we also mention in general, just innovation? No, it's a bit too much of a stretch. But I think when you say as an influential watch, we should mention the Breguets of the yesteryears and the absolutely insane amount of new technology for that time that Breguet used to make his watches and invent to make his watches. We could say that a tourbillon is so influential, even though it solves not a real purpose in a wristwatch, it's still everybody's or every watch makers and watch companies' dream to have a tourbillon, self-developed tourbillon in their product lineup.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's important. You still see Breguet numerals. You see Breguet hands on watches everywhere. Yeah. So that I would say is influential, even though Breguet today is not as of a they're respected, but they're just not sought after, I guess, right?
I think
Breguet kind of fell out of fashion.
Yeah, I think Breguet is very respected still. I mean, everything they do is...
But nobody wants to buy one.
I have one, but
you do.
If I wouldn't have been... Yeah, it's a Type 20. It's like the least Breguet-like Breguet.
Yeah, exactly. With the Type 20 is a pilot's watch, essentially, right?
It was made for the French Air Force at the time, yeah. Which is the one thing why it is a flyback chronograph, right? Because that was one of the requirements.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. This is... Breguet is a company that makes amazing and absolutely stunning watches, I find. I mean, from a technology perspective, it's especially from a finishing perspective, there's this guilloche work and everything they do, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Would I buy one? Not my first choice, for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Going back, by the way, we mentioned the Fliegers and all of the Dirty Dozen watches. We should, of course, now that we're speaking about, once again about pilots watches, we need to mention a few, right? The big ones, the big Pilot, the IWCs, the regular pilots from IWC, the, what else is there? What is it?
If you talk about Flieger watches, there's Fortis, maybe?
Fortis wasn't the one I was thinking of.
But there's
what's the other big one? Whose name eludes me now? Another German company.
There's Damasco,
Laco.
There's these two. There's one more that I forgot now. I don't know if Hanhart is.
Hanhart
They have also done,
yeah,
I think, a lot of these back then.
So there's a number of them, yes. So I just wanted to mention a few by name because we just glanced over it quickly. So those, I would say, all are influential, and that's one of those styles that you cannot really pinpoint who came up with it first, because it was done essentially by decree or whatever you want to call it. I think it was
it was a military specification, basically.
Exactly,
So
a specification. So they had to do the same stuff.
Some unknown person in some unknown military has decided that is the watch we need. That
what you want.
Maybe even a committee. Maybe it wasn't a single person. Maybe it was somebody who was.
And on the opposite end, we have, of course, the field watches. I think the charge there is led by Hamilton, most likely. With the Hamilton khaki. What else? What else is popular in the field watch range?
I don't know. Not a big field watch person. I know.
Yeah, me neither. Not really. Not really. We could argue that the IWC small pilot is actually a field.
Smith and CVC.
Smith and CVC are the two big ones. Yes. Yeah. Smiths. Yes, the Smiths is what they argue was the one that went to the top of Mount Everest. It wasn't actually a Rolex, it was Smiths. And then the CVC is the British military issue quartz watches, the Cabot Watch Company.
Actually what it stands for. Good.
Yes, and the funny thing is they had one of the original, or if not the original, NATO straps was produced. And they're still being produced today. I forgot the name of it. I think it's something like starts with a P, Pegasus or some stupid name. I don't remember what it is. But the company that makes the original NATO straps, that made them originally way back when in the 70s for military issue, still makes them to this day for the CWC, the Cabot Watch Company.
Cool. Yeah.
So. And those are super cheap, by the way. You can go out online. You can get an ex-military issued CWC for, something along the lines of like $100, $200.
Yeah. They're not expensive.
When I was at Dubai Watch Week last year, or last 2 years ago, I recommend anybody that does do this, go walk around inside the mall where the watch box is. And they had, at the time, little like flea market style watch dealers pop up in that hallway, and that's where I saw for 1,000 dirhams a military issued CWC. So they do have them there. It's kind of cool. So it's a fun thing to just walk through and see what they have.
Nice.
All right. So what else?
By the way, I think again, this is probably coming out a bit later, but Dubai Watch Week has announced a couple of brands that are already coming to Dubai Watch Week. Quite interesting. I don't know. There's Resens is there, Karl F. Bucher is there, Chronoswiss is there, Armin Strom is there, Arnold & Son is there, Speaker Marin is there, Trilope is there, which is new, Vintage, the Siddiqui brand, Vintage with a Y, is there. Then there's a couple of others, Jacob & Co, Beauvais, F. Bijon is there, Louis Vuitton is there with the La Fabrique du Temps, Dior.
I'm actually interested to see the Louis Vuitton watches.
The new tambour.
And that's going to be interesting.
Killer. I love that watch. I think it is so cool.
Speaking of Jacob & Co., I do want to mention this, is I got a message from a listener by Instagram handle of Night Wristwatchman.
Okay.
Apparently, he also started, I think they're based out of Spain, out of Barcelona.
Okay.
And they started a podcast themselves as well. So he said, we have 3 episodes up now. The podcast is called Chrono Passion 7. He says, in parentheses, the 7 is for good luck.
Okay.
But Chrono Passion 7.
Okay.
And their first guest, and this is what I was like, wow, we are not in the same ballpark here. Their first guest was the CEO of Jacob & Co.
Okay.
So, which is Jacob's son.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jacob and Co. is
Where's our famous guests?
yeah,
No offense, Hussein and Mahmoud.
no,
you guys
no.
are great.
We haven't even tried to get anybody from an industry.
That's true.
We can. But we thought we are going more on the grassroots level, right? But we could definitely do that.
I wouldn't mind having
the Jacob and Co.
FP
guys.
Jorn on our podcast.
The Jacob and Co. guys are here all the time because they are doing the Jacob and Co. Tower, right, here in Dubai with Bengati.
Yep.
So it's a big.
So there you go.
Yeah, it's one of the tall.
So if you run into him, ask him to be on our podcast.
The tallest commercial, purely residential tower in the world. So let's see. Yeah, definitely. I was wondering of how a company like Jacob and Co. starts to make, residential towers and design. And I wonder if you get a nice watch or nice discounts on watches or exclusive watches as an owner in this tower.
If you buy a house from him, then yes, maybe.
Could be interesting.
That could be.
Yeah,
but
so
anyway, all right, back to our original topic, which we keep getting off track.
Wait. I can say something with the Jacob and Co. It could be actually a very influential watch. You remember this watch with the five?
No, I'm going to say no.
No, wait. Remember this? Okay, personally, it's my personal opinion. I'm not judging, but this watch was very influential. The one with the 5 different little watches on top of it.
Yes, the 5 times.
Rapper and pop star in the world had that watch from Jacob and Co. Where you had these 5 different.
Yes, everything was a little quartz
colorful
crapper.
It had 5 crappy quartz movement in one. So they needed, I think, even 5 batteries. If you.
I don't know.
I think so.
But I do remember when I got into watches.
Yeah.
I went to Timepiece 360 and they had one. I think it was like 5,000 dirhams. I mean, there was nothing money. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yes, okay. I did see lots of rappers having this. So I guess
was
in
the
some
thing
sense,
to have at the time. I think it was called the 5 time zone.
It was different. It was different.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think that for that reason alone, it was cool. I do look at the new Jacob & Co.'s, the Astronomia, and I mean, they're crazy. They really are crazy. They're MBNF level crazy.
I think some of
unwearable.
Yeah, some of their movements and watches are absolutely insane from a purely horological perspective. Absolutely amazing. But I do also feel that a lot of their watches are a bit way over the top. I mean, there's just like somebody vomited diamonds on things and just
like here's a 19 karat diamond that we stuck inside of the moon it's orbiting this other larger diamond.
Which for me is a bit too much, but I can see, I mean, the quality, the gem setting, the gems used, all of this stuff is, I think, beyond question. It's great stuff, right? I mean, nowadays, I think what he's churning out there is all good stuff. Taste and other things we can always discuss. But I think this 5 time zone watch was something that was a bit of an influential watch at the time. Because then afterwards, a lot of watch brands came out with that. Is it one of the most influential of all time? No, it is not, I think. But it was some kind of influential.
Yeah.
What else do we have as in watches that are influential? Would you say?
I'm sure this is a problem. This is a problem because we know we're going to miss stuff. So guys, let us know what we missed.
Grill us in the comments.
Yeah. All right. What were you going to say?
No, what I was going to say is what I don't think what we have mentioned is, of course, all of the women's watches that have been very influential in order to get watches on wrists in any case. I think royalty started the trend first, asking companies like Piaget and Audemars Piguet and others that were already around for that time.
JLC was the main one.
We're saying like, hey,
JLC, remember, we have to go back in time here.
Yeah. JLC.
Queen Elizabeth's coronation. It was not okay for women or queens, or actually, I don't know if it was queens and kings or how this worked, but you were not allowed to wear watches. It was not okay.
Especially not during the coronation.
Yes, you were apparently allowed to wear jewelry, but not watches. So she went to JLC and said, I want a watch. It needs to be integrated into the bracelet. Maybe it was an integrated bracelet sports watch. But it was the JLC, what is it, the 101 movement, I believe it is?
Correct.
Which is to this day the smallest movement ever made for a watch.
Yeah, I think it's
And-
I don't know if it was JLC that they actually made this watch,
it was
or was it
dialed JLC. It was dialed, labeled JLC.
because
So look it up.
I know that they made the movement, but sometimes you don't know if it was a different
they put their own
watchmaker.
logo
Okay.
on the.
All right.
If you look at, it's a very, very tiny little thing, and if you just look ever so lightly, if you can zoom in,
Yeah.
you will see the J on the dial itself,
Okay.
which is extremely.
Because I really love the brand Jaeger Le Coult. I think they are absolutely amazing. I loved their history. I love that they made 1,300 calibers so far. They invented and created and sold for many companies. You know, there's an AP with a frequency response recently on it. You know, there's the AP Royal Oak with this little equalizer graph, this frequency response thing.
Oh, the music one?
Music
is that
one,
what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
The music box or whatever it's called.
So, you know, a friend of mine just got one, friend of mine in Singapore, and he's super excited about it. And he said 3 things that I don't like about this watch, but that you should know before buying it. And he's in love. He loves it, right? He said, it's just a music-themed watch. It has no other... There's nothing behind it. It's just music. There's no collaboration. There's not that this frequency response is a specific song or anything. There is just or a specific note. It's just music. It's a bit random, right? It's just a theme, right? He said this watch doesn't have an in-house movement, which, you know, AP is still, some watches still don't have AP movements in them.
So what movement is
It's
it?
a JLC, I think. Yeah.
ETA 2824, right?
I don't know. I have to check that. He said this. I hope he's right. But by the way, back to the podcast, we have to get these guys on. We can do a collaboration with them, right? We could.
Who, with JLC?
No, the guys from Spain.
Yes.
If they want to come on our
we
podcast, they should.
And
no,
vice
let me
versa.
see. Yeah, of course, we can do a nice exchange. So I wanted to say, okay, what was this? It was a Royal Oak and this music thingy. Let me see if I can find what kind of movement is in there. Usually AP does heavily modify the movements, even if they come from JLC. I mean, they do a lot of things with them. So not so sure if there's any, how do you say that? Is it fully? It is definitely not fully in-house, but it's definitely not just a off-the-shelf movement. They just plonk in, right?
Yep.
So let's see. I don't know. Let me see if I find that. If I search for it. Yeah, and I found it. It's a Royal Oak offshore. See there. Okay, it says Audemars Piguet caliber 4.3 something. Maybe I'm looking at the bigger one. Do they have different sizes of it?
I think this isn't the offshore. This isn't the offshore. This is the Royal Oak.
Yes, of course. No, they are all offshores with the music one.
No.
Yes. But it's
They are not all
43. It
offshores, are
can't
they?
be 43. This is the one here. Sorry. So he
They
has the
are.
37 millimeter version. That's why. Because the 37 millimeter uses a different movement. He has the music. It's the Audemars Piguet 77600 Ti.00.A343CA.01. There you go. It's called the Royal Oak Offshore Self-Winding Music Edition Titanium Blue. Kaboom. That's a lot of words.
Limited edition, I think,
And
right?
it is
250
an
pieces.
AP5909 movement, which is based on the AP5900, which is based on... But it says nothing about that it's not an AP movement. So I don't know. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe it is an in-house movement. I don't know. Anyway, maybe somebody can tell us in the comments.
Hold on. Here, the movement self-winding caliber 2385 for the chronograph, 5909 for the music edition. Nothing is mentioned about it being.
Yeah.
This is on Hodinkee.
Right.
So
I don't know.
yeah,
It looks
apparently,
like
I have no idea.
a proper in-house movement. Anyhow, who knows?
So now going on, we're talking about women's watches first, by the way.
That's how we came here. Okay, yeah. So I think
Yes, I don't know how,
the coronation. I think with the coronation, it's like a black tie event. In the black tie event, the original dress code was no watches.
No watches.
And because
you're not supposed to look at your wrist because it's impolite, because that implies that you have somewhere better to be.
Exactly. And something else that needs your attention, while you should focus your entire attention to the company you have right there and the event at which you are. Which I think we can all take a tiny bit home of that, saying like, okay, if there would have been mobile phones, they would have been shot to the moon before you go there, right? So that is not something that you would take with you at all. So just looking at your wristwatch was considered so rude, right? Because that's what you wouldn't do during an event like this, because you have to be there without any other distractions. And that's why I think the queen wanted to have the time, because maybe she wanted to tell people, yalla, yalla, hurry up here. I had enough of these coronation things. Quick, go for it. This was supposed to take only half an hour, and now we're still going on.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Who knows? Anyhow.
Now, all right, other women's watches that are influential. I would say this is a direct copy of the Santos, almost, but the of course the Cartier Panthère. So I think the Panthère is another one of these very famous women's only watches. They do not make a men's version, I think, right?
Okay.
It's women's only.
Yeah, possible.
I think the largest one they have is a 31.
Okay.
So, and a lot of women, I should say, did say that this was their one exception to the no quartz rule, because Panthères only came with quartz movements.
Okay.
So that's kind of neat. Also, of course, the constellation, the Omega constellation we mentioned a moment ago. This is the Manhattan version, which came out, I think, in 1980 something. Anything with that, I would say that's a very influential design.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but if you tell me women's watch, I would say, I'm going to guess, most likely the Constellation is the first one that would pop into my mind. For some reason. I don't know why. What do you think? What other women's watches are of notable importance?
It's a very good point. Which one of notable? Yeah, the Daytona, for example.
The what?
The Daytona. Okay, now I'm getting into really trouble. It's a lovely women's watch. It looks really much better on women than on men. No, I'm sorry. I just stir controversy. But hey, look, ladies love it. I know probably more girls than men who have a Daytona.
That's true. It's very true, especially the precious metal ones on Oyster Flex. The women love them.
Yeah. Anyhow, it's no.
They're not women's designs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. It's a very female design, but yes, of course.
They're unisex. According to Rolex.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just poking people.
Yes, always. Yeah. Poking the bear.
So it's hard to say. I think it's because I think what happened a lot, you could say, I think one of the most influential watches, which I know that lots of ladies know about, is the Happy Sport from Chopin.
Oh, yes, the Happy Sport, definitely. That's very good.
One of the watches that
what about the J12?
Also, absolutely.
The Happy Sport and the J12 to me are in the same exact category.
Yeah, and they were both. I mean, the Happy Sport less so. Happy Sport was more from it came out in 1976. It's a very old.
With the floating jewels or no?
Yeah. That came out in 1976, and so
that's super cool.
And that is something where we put two sapphire crystals and the diamonds in the middle with some kind of I don't know,
liquid.
No, it's not liquid. It's just flowing around. I just held them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'm thinking of
and it's
something else.
That's really cool, and it's something that I think most women know about. This is rare that women know that they're not into watches, but this watch is something that they know.
Yeah, they know this one.
And the J12, I think, is a lovely watch because it always also came out as a automatic version, right? And they have different sizes. And my wife has one. And if you look at this dial with this really three-dimensional design, and it's actually really, really nice when you take the loops to it with a ceramic case, ceramic bracelet. It's such a nice watch. The one my wife has the an ETA movement in it. But nowadays, all the J12s come with in-house movements. I mean, in-house manufacturer movements from Kinesi. Well, they own 20% of Kinesi.
Part of it, yes.
So,
correct.
They also own 20% of FP Journe. So, there's a lot of,
They have an FP Journe movement in the Chanel J12.
No, they don't. But that would be nice.
We could say this.
But maybe they actually have, because they have some with tourbillons, flying tourbillons, and really absolute amazing watchmaking in there. Chanel does an amazing job with going to the next level. Same as LV, right? How they manage and leverage their watchmaking ateliers that they have for many years now. I think Chanel has theirs in Switzerland for, I don't know how many years, 20 years, 30 years. And they're churning out amazing high horology stuff. Again, the J12, the small J12 movement is made by Kinesi for Chanel. No other brand yet uses this movement, not even Tudor themselves, which I think it will come in the new version of the smaller Tudor watches that they have in their program. But so far, I don't think anybody uses this yet, the size movement. It's cool stuff. And I think the J12 is also a watch that every lady knows.
Another one that was in this category for women, the Bulgari Serpenti.
Oh yeah. I think also
we almost forgot about that. That one's a very good one too.
True. Yeah, that's also some
very influential. Yeah. I've seen so many knockoffs of this, similar designs. And that one, I don't know how long it's been around.
It's a bit of a love and hate relationship. I know one lady who loves hers. And I think some people just think like, no, I don't want something snaking around my wrist. You could say also, what is the Hermes? I don't know the name of it, with a double band.
The double tour. I think that's more along the line of.
I didn't.
The strap itself, not the watch, is iconic.
Again,
right?
Hermes as well, going places with their own movements that they have designed together with the help of Vaucher. But they are producing it themselves.
Before you go further, when do you think the Serpenti came out? What year?
It's a long time ago, I guess. Let me guess then. Also in the 70s?
Yeah, it's going to be a guess.
70s?
Nope. Earlier.
Okay. Whoa, then.
Much earlier.
Much earlier. Oh, wow. Then it must be 1930?
No, later than that. Okay. It was 1948.
Wow.
So they're saying 75 years of Serpenti.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I'm very surprised by this. And, Italy at the time was in ruins. So
yeah, just
this is what they spent their time doing.
Lost the war, right?
Yeah. Not doing so hot. No. And then they're coming out with designs like this. So that's really cool.
Right.
All right. What else? Let's go because we're running out of time. I'm going to list off a rapid fire round. Okay.
Okay.
Rapid fire. We have to mention the Gentas. The 222, which is not Genta, but I'm going to put it in the category.
But not the ugly ones, because Genta had a lot of misses as well.
The Royal Oak.
Just the good ones.
And the Nautilus. So these three coming out at the same time, even though the 222 was not.
Maybe the Ingenieur.
Genta, I would say the Ingenieur came later.
And the Pasha.
Right? The Pasha. I don't like the Pasha.
I know, me neither, but it was very influential. It's still there. And a lot of people like it. I know I'm also not a fan, but a lot of people like it. Okay, next.
All right, so I wanted to mention those. I wanted to mention the Panerais, just the base pan.
100%, yeah.
Luminor. Yeah, those are extremely iconic. What else? What do you have?
I think we should mention the G-Shock.
Calatrava. Oh, the G-Shock.
1986.
Definitely. The G-Shock Square.
Was it 86? 84. 84, yeah.
83, sorry. 83 was the first one. And I think 84 was when it was publicly available for
That's
sale.
why we had the 50th,
but they call
50th
it 83
anniversary
was,
this year. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I would say yes, the square G-Shock first.
50
Then-
years. Amazing. Sorry.
In 96, I think it was, the 6900 came out.
Sorry, what I'm saying for the 40 years. It can't be 50 years.
Yes,
I'm just
40.
like, what the hell am I talking about? Like,
The 40th anniversary, yes, correct. So then we had the 6900 G-Shock series, came out 93, 96, somewhere around there. I would say that's also iconic. The new Ed Sheeran watch, right?
yeah, the new yellow
That was just launched.
Bumblebee, whatever you want to call it.
I passed on it. I didn't buy it.
I think you are not alone because it's still available after three
Is it?
after
Okay,
3 days
I-
of being on the website. That is rare. That is rare.
My wife said, like, why don't you buy it? And I said, because I have no interest in Ed Sheeran. I like the guy. Sure, he's a nice guy, but that's not going to make me want to wear his watch.
You know what I find
So it's not
amazing? That is, I mean, he was in the military, right? And I think, I don't know where he lost his hearing, but he has no hearing in one ear.
I had no idea.
Yeah, imagine you are a musician that creates so much beautiful sounds and you can't actually hear them in stereo. Whoa, sad, but good. I
That's
mean, he's still
interesting.
amazing. Yeah.
So-
And another bit of useless information that I have so much of in my brain. Don't know why I remember all of these things.
Are you sure this is Ed Sheeran? Yes. Ed Sheeran burst his eardrum.
Yeah, crazy, huh? But amazing that it doesn't hinder him from making that such great music. If you like his
it gets
music,
better.
obviously.
He burst it twice.
Ooh, okay.
He burst it at 18, and then he burst it again at age 24, jumping off a yacht. And he had to have surgery.
Ooh, okay, that's less impressive as being, in the military and doing this. It's just say, I was drunk, I jumped from a yacht and then blop. Maybe he wasn't drunk.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't
But that was
know
the second time he burst it. That was the second time he burst it,
Yeah.
was jumping off the yacht. The first time was when he was 18. So was he in the military? I don't know.
Luxury
I
problems,
don't know about
jumping from yachts at the age of 24. Anyhow, might have not been his, I guess. Everybody who knows him or has talked to him says it's the most normal person in the world. And he's such a humble guy and super friendly. So I just wanted to say that out there. I have never spoken to him. By the way, he has given these special order Tudors to his crew for his concerts.
Yes. We saw this in the Talking Watches.
Yeah.
With the divide sign on the dial,
That
which is super
alone
cool.
is lovely to do this for your team, right? He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so so
What else?
G-Shock,
What
so
else?
we are not
What else is
G-Shock.
iconic?
I mean, obviously, nearly everything that Rolex has made has become iconic to a certain extent.
Oh, we didn't mention the Speedmaster.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Speedmaster as
Yeah,
a
there's a lot of
chronograph.
stuff that we
I
forget.
mentioned the Daytona, but as a chronograph, yeah, we have to say that. Obviously,
No, the Speedmaster
I mean,
was the iconic.
obviously
There's no denying it.
you have mentioned this already. I mean, I don't know if we could say that the Patek Calatrava has inspired so many other watches as well to be a boring dress watch. I mean, some Calatravas really look cool. I like one. I would like to have one eventually.
So
but anyway,
I don't you think, by the way, that the Daytona is essentially just a copy of the Speedmaster?
yeah, see, I mean, we can discuss this a long time about how chronographs just have a high tendency to look similar with the subdials and stuff.
Okay, we could say this.
But yes,
it just keeps it.
I think why is it similar? And I think you're right. I agree with you. It is very similar because I think that at the time the Cosmograph, right before it was named Daytona,
Yeah, when they tried.
was supposed to go on these missions like the Speedmaster too, right? They're supposed to go on these astronaut missions to go to the moon and other places, into the sky, into the space. So I think that's why I think they might have had some regulations or some specifications that NASA at the time said
They were following. Yeah.
that's what we need from the watch, and that's basically dictated to a
That could be,
certain
but I
extent
mean, once
the
again,
design.
the Cosmograph came out 7 years after the Speedmaster came out.
Right. Yeah.
And remember, the Speedmaster was not made for this. It just happened to fit
yeah.
the bill. Meanwhile, the Cosmograph most likely was made specifically for this test.
Yeah.
Hence the
And
name.
it didn't.
Right?
That's one thing that I find surprising of what we think about Rolex today. We think they make no mistakes. They have this absolute amazing time of doing all the right things and gently doing things, making things better over time. They had a lot of misses. They had a lot of watches that we don't talk about anymore because they're not anymore there, because they're discontinued. And they also were not chosen for the military in the first time. That was Blancpain who won the American contracts to actually make their dive watches. Later on, they chose Rolex, but at the first time, they actually did not choose Rolex watches because they didn't perform as well. They didn't go to space because they didn't perform as well as their competitors. So they lost a couple of these things where they tried to get to and didn't because of technical performance, which is now the opposite of what we have in our brains right now, that's the gold standard. Rolex is the gold standard. And they are, I mean, from a reliability,
to some level,
reliability and robustness standpoint, I think they are probably, or at least from a marketing perspective, in our perception, they are. So, interesting.
So, anything else? What else we have before we end and before we upset somebody by not listing something?
I would say we have to mention one of the watches in recent history. It's the Apple Watch.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to think of what else is.
They make more
the Apple Watch for sure.
revenue with that single model of watch than the entire Swiss watch industry makes, which is mind-blowing. Right? They have basically taken the entirety of the Swiss watchmaking and just overtaken it. All of it. It's just like, I mean, everything
from one day to the next.
in a record time, and it didn't affect them so much. But in general, I think if you look at how many smartwatches are being sold, wow, it's a lot, right? This is a whole industry that so very influential. Apple didn't start it, but Apple made it the incredibly popular thing. I mean, there were Garmin's before and other watches. I remember this one with the e-ink display. I forgot the name. It had a funny name.
No idea.
Really cool watch. I really loved that. I had one. It couldn't do as much smart functions back at the time. It was with a black and white display only, but it has like a 7 days power and all of this stuff, right? It was really nice in this way that it wasn't like my Apple Watch, which I have to recharge every 2 days
all the time. That was my one issue with the Apple Watch is the charging, but
okay, so that's the ones. I think.
Anything else we missed? I think what we missed something for sure. Please let us know what it is.
Would you say some of the watches that Giugiaro has designed were influential?
Which ones?
Like the one from Alien and the first couple of digital watches besides the Casio G-Shocks, these like the not PRX, what is it called? The Pulsar that really got re-editioned by the Hamilton. I mean,
yeah, I know which one. The one that looks like the Gerard Perregaux.
Yeah, the casquette. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, it is the first digital watch after all, right? The first digital LED or LCD watch.
But I think,
so
that's in general. That's it. Yeah.
We have. I mean, in general, I'm sure we missed something, but trying to mentally think, walking through
the smartwatch that I forgot. Pebble. It just beamed into my brain. Pebble smartwatch.
Okay.
Anyhow, they're not existing
anymore. I'm trying to think what else there is, but anyway.
Yeah, I think we have covered a lot.
But we're all already over time.
The moment we are stopping the recording, we will have 10 more that we didn't mention. Immediately coming
every time.
immediately coming to our mind. Anyhow, I think that was really cool. I think we have an interesting discussion about this. And can't wait to the next one.
Yep. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Follow us, like us, whatever on Instagram at Lume Plotters, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Let us know how on earth we could have forgotten the specific watch that you have in mind.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.